Hi, this is Kevin Trainer, and I'd like to welcome you to my tutorial for Reggie's in Step Chapter 1. This is to get you ready for several assignments that I've made in the exercises in Chapter 1, and they've got some common features. So this tutorial demo is going to allow you to see each of those common features and get ready to perform them when you do the exercises. So at this point, we should have completed the installation of Java 8 and Eclipse. And as you can see on my virtual machine here, I'm going to be working in my Mac for my tutorial examples this semester. I have an icon for Eclipse, and I'm going to give it a click down in the dock, and it's going to fire up. And it's going to go into the default workspace, which is just fine by me for right now. I'm going to allow it to go right there. Okay. And it turns out that this is the last of the tutorials that I did. It was my simple Java program, Hello World, and I'm going to need to close that. Okay, so what are we going to do here? Well, let's shrink Eclipse. And let's take a look at a piece of art that I've got. I've got it in a folder here I can open up, and so I find my way down to it. Got some art. So the exercises that we're going to do are all really printer art. So there are a number of skills, and I'm going to try to isolate them and kind of teach them one at a time, or demonstrate them one at a time. The first is that you have to have a tolerance for doing things that are kind of marginally foolish, right? When we begin to program, we learn how to do easiest things first, in terms of things that are tangible, is getting the computer to print out some kind of text. And so the examples in the exercises for Chapter 1 are, for the most part, printing text. And the ones that I've chosen for you to work on are all printing text that could be construed by some as art. And skill number one in this artistic enterprise is to pay a lot of attention to the detail. And this is a common programmer skill. Okay, you want to get the output of the program exactly right. So for instance, here in the example of the artwork that we have here, one of the reasons I created a file ahead of time is that I would be able to show you what's really there. Okay, sometimes when you look at a textbook, you kind of go, is that in the third position or the fourth, or is that this character or that character? Well, we'll go explore what these characters are. I kind of look at this like a charm bracelet, okay? So it starts out with 2 links of chain, then it has a square charm, then 2 links of chain, then it has a diamond charm, 2 links of chain, and then it has a kind of a pokey square charm, okay? And then it doesn't have 2 links of chain at the end, because my concept of these little segments of charm bracelet is you could connect them in a way, you could connect them in a circle And so, you know, you wouldn't want to have some dangling chain on both sides. You would want just one dangling chain, which you would find some ingenious way to attach to the charm that was at the other end. Okay? So this is a lot like the examples from the textbook, but they're within my artistic capabilities. So let's look at what we have here. How do I form the links of the chain? Well, let's see. I'm in the first column, so it's not in that, it's not in the second, it's not in the third, it's not in the fourth, it's in the fifth column. And it turns out that it is a capital backslash right over top of the Enter key. So if I delete that and I do a capital backslash, it's going to get me what I want. Now, some of us call that the pipe symbol because it looks like a pipe standing straight up, and that's one of the technical symbols from the Unix and Linux operating systems. Okay, so that's how I formed all of the chain links. Just in position 5, I created a pipe symbol. And are there any characters after that? No, typically there are not. Typically when you print things out, you print them out ragged, which is to say you only send out as many characters as you need to get the symbols that you need to print. So here we can get all the symbols we need with 5 characters. Okay, so let's look at the first of the charms. This is how you want to look at these. Well, okay, it's a straight line, then it's 2 vertical lines. It's a straight horizontal line, then it's 2 small vertical lines, then the next is 2 small vertical lines, and then it's 1 longer horizontal line. Okay, well, what are these? Well, let's look. In position 1, there's a space. Nothing at all. So there's the same character in positions 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay. Is that 2, 3, 4, 5? No, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. And what is here? Well, it's a minus sign. How do we know that? Well, if I get rid of 1 and I touch the minus sign, that's what I get. It's not an, ooh, I don't know how I did that. For some reason, it wants to back up. That is some interesting dynamic there. Okay. Okay. And then what are these? Well, this is a pipe sign in line 1, in position 1, and then blank, 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 and then another pipe sign. Okay, so that's how those are formed. And this is formed, the closing one is formed just like the opening horizontal line. And this is the thing about the artwork here and the artwork in the exercises from the book. A lot of these figures that make up the overall piece of art can be thought of in terms of individual components. Okay, so for instance, you can think of the square charm as being a horizontal line, a vertical element, another vertical element, and a horizontal line. Okay, so we can think of them as 4 separate elements. We could also think of them as a top half and a bottom half. Okay. The second of the charm figures is a diamond. It's created with asterisks. And I've put the asterisk into column 5, just like it is in the chain link versions. And then as each one goes down, on each subsequent line, I go out by 1. So as I go down 1, 2, 3 lines, I get to the point where I've got an asterisk that starts in column 1. And then I've got another asterisk over here. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, you'll see what I have. Even I am finding it hard to count all these. Okay, now we've got some chain links here. And what do we have in the last of the figures, the square chime with the pointiness? Well, the line on the top are circumflexes. They're capital 6s. Okay, and I've got what, let's look. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of those. Okay, coming down, I'm doing the vertical side elements with a less than and a greater than sign. They're down at the bottom of the keyboard. And then the very last line is the same as the top line. Okay, it would be nice if we had something like them, the circumflex that pointed down, but we don't have anything directly on our keyboard that does that. So we've got a matching line of circumflexes down at the bottom. Okay, so that's the art that we're going to try to create in our example. And let's go ahead and get started with Eclipse. So I'm going to create a new Java project. And I'm going to call this one Chapter 1 Demo. And I'm just going to click on Finish. And in Chapter 1 Demo, I have my source folder that's going to hold my classes. Now I want a Java class for this, so I'm going to say I want a new class. And I'm going to leave it in the default package. It is in the right folder. That's good. And I'm going to call this one Demo Art. Okay. And I'm going to allow it to be public. I'm going to tick all the defaults. Plus, I'm going to also check the first of these method stubs, public static void main. So I'm going to click Finish. And here we are. So we've got a class called Demo Art. Okay, we have a declaration for the class with a set of curly braces that contain all the code for the class. We've got one method called main. That's the main one that gets executed. It's got some interesting properties here. Public static void, which are just kind of magical so far. And it's got inside of it, inside the curly braces, it's got one single line comment that begins with a // and we have a to-do that says this was a auto-generated method stub. All right. So let's start printing things out. Okay. So the first version that we're going to do of this is it's going to have a single method called main, and main is going to do all of the work. So we're going to write a pretty unsophisticated version of the program that puts all of the work into a single method. Okay? How's that unsophisticated? Well, typically when we're creating a program of some substantial size, it's doing too much work that it can really be contained in a single method without it being too crowded and hard to maintain. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're doing sort of a naive approach, and then we're going to make it more sophisticated by factoring it out into more than one method. So let's come over here and remind ourselves of the artwork. So let's see, we do 2 of these chain links with the pipes. Then we're going to do a horizontal line, 2 vertical elements, 1 horizontal line. Okay, so let's try to do something like that. All right. So you recall from Hello World, which is the example we did so far, the way that we print a line is we do system.out.println, and then in parens we put the string that we want to print. So and that goes into double quotes. So I think we said we wanted 4 blanks and a pipe symbol. That's the pipe. And to get that, we're going to just add a semicolon. We always are going to have a semicolon at the end of every Java statement. Okay, that's good. So we're going to save by clicking. The way that I like to save is to click on the diskette. Your mileage may vary. All right. And the first time we run a program, we have to go through the long way and say we want to run as a Java application. And the way that I like to do this is from the drop down on the toolbar, the drop down that's next to the biggest of the play buttons. So I'm going to say run as Java application. And look what we got. We got some blanks and we got a pipe symbol. Okay, that looks pretty good. That's a good start. So we want 2 pipe symbols in a row. Well, it should be pretty easy to do. Let's just copy and go down to the next line and paste it. Okay. And again, just to test it, we click on save. And now, as you remember, we just have to click on the play button. Once we do it the long way the first time, the second time, we just have to click on play. Okay, now we've got 2 chain segments. That looks pretty good. All right. Now I'm going to come back and take a look at my text editor just to remind myself of how this square charm is going to look. So I think I've got, how many of these do I have? I've got a blank, got 1 blank, and then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hyphens or minuses. Okay, let's see what that's going to look like. So this thing what we're doing where we're kind of adding a line at a time and then we're testing it, I can't recommend this highly enough. Okay, the programs really get built a line at a time. It doesn't take that much for us to test them. So I know it seems kind of trivial to add just a line of code at a time, but if we do it and we test it every time we add a line of code, then when something goes wrong, we'll know just what part went wrong. Okay, so I'm going to do it this lazy way. I'm going to copy it and paste it in. And I'm going to replace that string. And I said 1 blank plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hyphens or periods. And let's click on save and print. Okay. Now, that's not looking the way I would like it to look. All right. So what's interesting is the way that's looking in my text editor and the way that's looking here are 2 different things. And that probably has to do with, so I'm not liking that. All right, so what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to make an artistic decision here, and I'm going to add 3 more minus signs. 1, 2, 3. So now I've got, I think, 8 of them. Let's see how that looks. Save. Run. Well, that looks a little too long. So let's take away the last of the minus signs. Save. Run. Okay, it's looking pretty good to me. That looks to be pretty good. Okay, so now I want to come up with the vertical parts of the square charm. So what am I going to do? I get a couple more blank lines here. Okay, and I'm going to do this kind of experientially here. I'm going to take away all the characters, and I'm going to put one pipe symbol, and then just try, I'm going to try 6 minus signs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and another pipe symbol. And why don't we click save and run and see what we got. Well, I think we're 1 minus sign short. So let's just go down in the middle of that line and add a minus sign. Okay. And run it again. It's looking pretty good to me. Oh, I didn't need minus signs in there. I just wanted spaces. I don't know why I did that. So let me get rid of those and put spaces in. If I line them up here, I think it's going to work out okay. All right. So let's try it again. And all right, that's looking good. So I'm going to want another one of them. Now, I'm doing the naive version of this right now, okay? So how do I do that? Well, I'm not going to try to create any reuse of code. All right, so I'm just going to copy that and paste it second time and save it and run it. So now I've got 2 vertical element lines. And let's go take a look at our artwork again. 2 vertical element lines, then another horizontal line. Okay. Well, again, copying is our friend. All right. So let's copy that and save it and test it. I think that's looking pretty good as what we're looking to do. Okay. So, again, typically when the way that we organize our code in our class is that we don't put it all into one method. And because it's a little bit hard to understand once that gets a little crowded. So here, we're not going to worry about that first, and then we're going to move stuff around later. Okay, so that's our first figure, full combination of chain links and figure. So the next thing that we want, again, let's look at the artwork. We want 2 more chain links, and then we want that diamond figure. Okay, that looks good. So let's copy the chain links. And I'm just going to leave a blank line between the 2 parts of our code. One that prints out the first figure and one that prints out the second figure sequence, just because I want to make them easy to find to the eye. Okay. And now I'm going to run. And okay, that looks good. Now, here's a trick that I want to show you. A lot of times when you look at the console window down here in its own tab, typically you don't have a lot of real estate to look at this, and you're you're trying to scroll it up and down, and it's not always, can't always see everything you want. Of all the tabs that we have from any of the panels that we have, we can cause that panel to go full screen by double clicking on the tab. So go to the console tab, double click, and now that whole console can be seen full screen. Now that's just what we want. So it's not uncommon that while we're coding and testing that sometimes we might want to either make the code editor window full screen or the console to look at the output full screen, and this is a good way to do it. So let's give it the double click, and it goes back where it belongs. And of course you can do the same thing with the code editor window. Let's just go up to its tab, double click, okay, and if we double click that again, it'll go back to where it belongs. Okay, so now let's try to come up with what we're looking to do. I'm going to copy this one, and I'm going to put the asterisk where the I'm going to put the asterisk where the chain link went. Sorry, that's not what I wanted to do. I just erased that change. So let's make that change again. Great. Let's copy it. All right. So now we want to start one earlier, have an asterisk earlier, and then have a space, and then another asterisk later. Okay, and let's see what that looks like. So, save, test. It looks like it's going about the right way. So let's copy the next line. Let's copy it again and change it. And again, it's important that you look at the sample that you're trying to match to make sure that you really know what characters you're trying to make happen. And then it's also good to make sure that you really get what you intended when you run it. Okay, that looks like that's out to the right. Okay, click Save, click Run. Okay, so that's great. So we have 2 lines there. And again, I'm going to look at my art example and I say, okay, I need to come out one more on each side. So I need to put another line. Copy that line. Paste that line. And this one's going to come back 1. And it's going to go out 1. I think that's about right. Let's look. It doesn't look quite so symmetrical in the code as it does when it prints out. Okay, so that's great. So we've done what, 1, 2, 3, 4 prints of that. Okay, now here's a case where you can do an analytical thing. Okay, let's look at our artwork, and you can see that the top half of this diamond figure is about the same as the bottom half. It's just in the reverse order, right? The bottom half is in the reverse order. So here's what we can do. Let's just copy things. Let's copy this one. Okay. And then we'll copy the one before it. And then we'll copy the very first one, the one with only 1 asterisk. And we'll put that down. Okay. And let's do a save and a run. Okay. Well, it looks good, but why don't we double click on the console tab? And here we are. Okay, so we've gotten out 2 of our charm bracelet charms. That's very nice. So let's go back and do the third one. Okay, so let's look at, first of all, let's get started with the 2 chain links. Okay, we know the 2 chain links are going to be there. Copy those down. All right, and just for grins, I'm going to save it and run it. And I said I do get the 2 chain links. That's great. And okay, let's take a peek at the artwork again. So the first is a bunch of circumflexes. Okay, and at least the way I thought it was going to work, there were going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. We'll see if that's enough. Okay, so let's copy a print. All right, put it out there. So let's see if 7 circumflexes is enough. Might not be when we see it at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm thinking that's going to be short. But we'll see. Okay, and now let's give it a run. And that does look short. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. And this 1, 2. I think we need 2 more. Let's try 2 more. Okay. All right. Let's give it a run. That looks pretty symmetrical to me. Okay. Now we need to let's look at the vertical elements that we had. They were with less than and greater than signs. Okay, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to copy the line that we just created. All right. And I'm going to replace the characters with a less than sign and a bunch of spaces and then a greater than sign. Now visually that looks about right, but we're going to have to wait and see. So click on the icon to save and then to run. And does that look about right? Well, I think it sticks out a little farther on the right side than the left. Let's look at the artwork that we're trying to match. Yeah, I think it's out a little too far on the right side. So let's go a little. Oh, that's not what we wanted to do. We want to take 1 space out of that on the right side. Okay, and let's save and run. Okay, I think that's a little closer to what we're looking for. Again, let's look at the artwork. So there were 3 vertical element lines. Okay, so let's copy this vertical element line. Once, twice. Okay, just put a blank line at the end. Okay, so let's run it, see if we get 3 vertical element lines. Save and run. 3 vertical element lines. And then we have yet another horizontal element line. We're going to copy the initial one to create the final one. Okay, so save icon, run icon, and let's go up to the console. And this is, I think, again, we had to, because the artwork turned out a little differently on the printer than it did on my, than it looked like on my text editor. We had to adapt a couple of these things to get them to look about the same, but I think we've done a fairly good job of interpreting the art that we were supposed to do. Okay, so we've kind of done problem one. Problem one is that we looked at the art we were trying to reproduce. We kind of analyzed it. And then we went through and we did a single method version. We put everything into the method that always is going to run in an executable Java program. It has a special name called main. Okay, and that's the first thing that runs, and it's the only method that we have, so it printed out what we had. Okay, so let's start thinking about what we could do to break this down. Now, this process of taking code that already works, okay, and repackaging it so that it's more easy to understand, it's easier to maintain, it's more robust. This is called refactoring. And this is a very big element of modern programming. Okay? So what's wrong with the code we have now? Well, it's all in one spot, and it's not too bad. If you can imagine that we were trying to come up with a charm bracelet that was maybe showed this single pattern that we have here 5 times over, which is about what it would take to get around the wrist, I would think. Well, then you could see that this thing would go on, this would go well off the screen and be a little bit hard to read. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to refactor it out into multiple methods that are called from main. Well, how can we do that? Well, we're going to do it the hard way first. Okay, it's always good to do it the hard way first and then to learn the easy way. Okay, so how do we get code into a method to call? Well, let's create another method, okay, inside the same class. So it's inside the brace for the same class, but not inside the method main. Okay, and let's say public void let's call it square charm. Okay, so I'm sorry, public static void. So public static void, these are 3 keywords that we're always going to have to put in front of a method in a program like this. This is a top-level Java program that has a main that's calling other methods within the same class. Okay? And in about 3 or 4 classes, we're going to explain why we need these public static void, but we're going to assume that these are just kind of magical now. Square charm is just the name of the method, like main, okay? And let's just put the code that creates the square charm, okay? Let's put that into, let's cut that, right? And let's put that into square charm. Okay. So what does square charm do? It prints out a square charm. It doesn't print out the links. Okay, that looks good. Okay, now we need to call it. So how do you call a method? Well, you just simply use the name of the method. square charm, paren. What's all these parentheses? Well, we're going to learn in a chapter or two that we can pass parameters or arguments into methods. So we can do some interesting communications with the methods. It's a really powerful capability. So that's what the parentheses will hold eventually. But right now, we're just calling the methods and they're doing the work, and the control is returning to the statement after the method call. Okay, so with the refactoring that we've done here, we've taken just the code that was in square charm, and we've, that created the square charm. We put it into a method called square charm. It has these special modifiers, which we're going to learn about in a couple of chapters. Okay, and let's save it and run it. And what we're going to expect, look, I just want to remind you, the last time we ran it, this is what we got. The square charm, the diamond charm, and then this spiky square charm. Okay, so that's what we're going to expect again. And from the refactored code, okay, that looks good. Let's, we've already saved it. Let's run it. Looks promising, but let's make the console big. Oh, good. Links, square charm, links, diamond charm, links, spiky square charm. Okay, good. All right, that's good. Now, what else could we do? Well, we could also factor out these other two charms. Well, you know, we kind of did that a hard way. We had to create this method ourselves. We did type in the shell of it, and then we had to cut and paste. Do you think there's a way to refactor and to take a method out of the method, take some code out of the method it's in right now and then have it be called? Yes, it's called refactor extract method. So let's look at the code that prints out the diamond charm, and let's highlight this. Now, this used to have a bug in it that made it very sensitive to the way you highlighted this code. And I think this has been long fixed, but because of that, when we highlight this code, let's highlight all the way to the left side. Let's just not highlight from the first beginning of the statement, but all the way to the left column, okay? Just the lines that put out the diamond charm, okay? And then we're going to right click on that box, and you'll see we have refactor, and come over here, and it says extract method. Okay, and what's the method name going to be? And let's call it diamond charm. Okay, and let's see, do we want it to be private or public? Oh, that's interesting. It could be private, so let's just say it's going to be private. We'll change the other one to private in a minute. Okay, so the method signature is going to be private static void diamond charm. Okay, so then say okay. So what happened? Well, this call to diamond charm was put where our code used to be. The method diamond charm has been created for us, and the code has been taken out of line, out of main, and put down here into its own diamond charm method. Okay, and you'll see that it was, instead of being called public static void, it's private static void. And that reminds me, I think I probably want to change this other one to private. Okay, And I'm not going to explain it because it is magical until we get a couple of chapters down the way. Okay, that looks good. All right, so let's run it and inspect it to see whether we're still getting the same figures. Okay, saved it. Now we're going to run. That looks promising. Double click on console. Oh, that looks good. So we've got the square charm, the diamond charm, and the spiky square charm, and we've refactored out 2 of the charms. Okay. Now let's us look at the last of the charms. And let's refactor that. Well, the last of the charms is this spiky square charm. Okay, so let's highlight that. And again, highlight all the way over to the left margin there, just to make sure. Right-click in the box, refactor, extract method. What's it going to be called? Spiky square charm. And it says it's going to make it private static void spiky square charm. That looks good to me. So say OK. All right, that looks good to me. So when you extract the method, it always seems to put it right after the code that you have. So it keeps putting them on top of the stack. That's okay to me. Okay. Okay, so now we've got a call to spiky square charm here, just like we had one to diamond charm and square charm. So let's save. It's already saved. And let's run it. And that looks good. It looks like I got a spiky square charm. Yep, got everything I want. All right. And so now I'm looking at the code in my main, and I kind of like the way it looks, except that my links are repeated code. Okay. And I kind of like them to be down in methods that I call as well. So here I'm going to do I'm going to do a couple things at once. One is I'm going to factor out these calls to the links, okay? But I'm going to tell it to factor them all out because we've got 3 instances of the same thing. So I'm going to tell it to do them all, and it will do all 3 of them. So let's look. So we highlighted that, refactor, extract method. Okay. And here I thought that was going to be easy to do. So I'm just going to call these links. Okay. And I'm going to take private. I thought that I could say take them all, but let's see. Okay. It saw them all. So it did all of them automatically. I think there used to be a box to check that said, do I want to do all of them? No, it doesn't ask me anymore. It just does them. So now look at the code that I have. I'm liking this. Now I'm going to get rid of these extra blank lines that I have at the beginning and the end here. And I'm going to get rid of the blank lines in the middle. Okay. So now I've got links square charm, links diamond charm, links spiky square charm. Okay. Let's save it and let's run it. And we've got what we want right here. Very good. Okay, so this is refactoring that I think everybody would agree that this is a good thing to do. We have created a main method that sort of reads as a summary of the code, and this is this kind of approach that we're taking here. There was a movement in the 1970s called structured programming, in which we took programmers who liked to put all their code in one big long line, kind of like we initially had, and we said, no, here's what we're going to do. We're going to break it up into pieces, and we're going to call each individual piece, and we're going to try to make each individual piece a meaningful part that we can give a meaningful name. And then the main code that we're going to have at the top is going to read like a summary of the solution to the problem. And so the approach that we have here is called a structured approach. And we've done it in a modern kind of a way, which we call refactoring. So every time we change the code in a way that doesn't change its behavior, but does change its text, and towards the goal of making it more readable, making it more maintainable. Each of these is called a refactoring. So this has been refactored into structured code, and it's really quite an attractive solution. Could we do further refactoring? Sure we could. What could we do? Well, there are some people who would say that you don't want any redundant code at all. You don't want any repetitious code at all. So you would say, well, these things where we have more than one line that does the same thing, maybe what we want to have is instead of, well, they would say you should refactor this one more time. Okay. Let me show you what that looks like. Okay, so we're going to take this single link. Okay. Oh, sorry. And let's go all the way to the left side. Again, it used to be sensitive to that, and I don't think it is anymore, but always a little shy with that. Okay, so we've got the whole line. Refactor, extract method. Okay, and I'm going to call this single chain link. Okay. Here, and it says replace one additional occurrence of statements with the method. I don't know if it showed us that the last time or not, but say, yeah, okay. So single chain link, look at that. It did single chain link, single chain link, single chain link. And this is a single chain link. Well, some people would think that that's good coding, and other people would say, I'm not really sure that adds a lot. I mean, those statements are sort of equally expensive. Could one of the chain links change? Could the first link be different from the second in some world? Yeah, maybe there's a design where the first link is bigger than the second, or it's a slightly different symbol than the second. You know, maybe one's a squiggling line and one's a straight line. So there's even a certain argument that says we've gone too far here. Okay? So for me, I think this is maybe a step too far. So how could I undo this? Well, I could use a Control Z or Command Z. So I'm going to undo. So I did an undo with a Command Z because I'm on the Mac. Or I could do a Control Z on Windows, and I undid that. One could do the same things with these three common lines here. Okay. One could even say that these ones where we where we have two lines that are the same here, we could refactor these. Okay. You can do all of that kind of stuff. Okay. But for my money, the amount of refactoring we've done right now is just perfect. Okay. I can understand it. I do have code at the top that is kind of a summary. I like that. Each of the methods is pretty coherent. I can understand what it means to do links. I can understand what it is. I can understand what it means to do each of the charms, and it looks pretty straightforward there. So I'm pretty happy with it. Okay. So that's that. I'm going to, I don't know if I ran this since the last time I did it, but I have changed it. So every time I change it, I'm going to want to run it. So I run it one more time and I look, and yes, I have the artwork the way I want. Okay. And that is it. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. So what did I do here? Well, I closed the tab that I had. Now you can actually double click on any of the tabs in this group and it will put them back into their normal panel spot. So I double clicked on that and it went back here. And I don't have the console tab anymore until I run a test again. And there comes my console tab back. So that wasn't really all that much of a loss. Okay, so this is the solution. And I'm thinking that if you can take this kind of approach to the exercises for the chapter, that you'll do very well. So I'm going to say goodbye until next time. Bye-bye.